Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here today. We're going to take a look at Electroneum, which is a really cool name and awesome coin that I get a lot of requests for. So we're just going to jump into technical analysis. There's no fundamentals here. If you're new to the channel, not a financial advisor, I just have over 15 years of trading experience, and my goal is to help you become more of an effective trader. If you want kind of a bit more of a hands-on approach, I have a trading community. Link in the description below for that. I send out signals for every single trade that I take, and I share that with my members. So speaking of members, we've been looking at Bitcoin for a while. So if you see on the chart here, I just like to preface with Bitcoin first. We have this support channel. So if you see here, we got 53,800, upwards of 56,000. The price never comes below that, right? We've been pretty steady above that for the past week. And what's great is last 2 days it tested and rejected basically 53,800 and 54,000 twice and closed above 56,000. So reaffirming that 56,000 is a strong support. Therefore, we also have a resistance here too, a strong resistance at about 57,500. Okay. Now, if we take a look at the volume, you can see an increase in volume here, obviously closer to the resistance. So that is a good sign, right? However, great news, that support channel, that's part of the reason why I do this channel here, is that we have so much volume in this area that the likelihood of it coming below that is pretty low. Again, volume is one of the best metrics you can use. Never underrate the volume or underuse it. It's definitely the best metric you can use outside of oscillators. Regardless, I'm just kind of letting you know that that is important to understand here. But furthermore, this resistance has been tested 3 days in a row. Today's the fourth day that it got rejected, potentially. We have an hour and a half left in this trading cycle. So if the one-day candlestick closes below 57,500 for Bitcoin, then we can expect it to stay below at least for another 24 and possibly come back down and bounce off of 56,000. That'd be a great buying opportunity. I kind of hope that happens so we can just kind of buy into the weekend, because notoriously the weekends are more green than they are red based on the fact that people like you and I, the average consumers, are driving the price up, not the whales. They're taking the weekend off. They're spending all their money. Actually, probably reinvesting the money that they made from us during the week. Regardless, let's go ahead and get on to Electroneum. So taking a look here, let's go back a little ways, right? So obviously we don't need to go that far back, but it's been around for a while. And here's the highest point in which it got stopped out right around 3.8. I'll say 3.8 cents. So let's go ahead and mark that. Because I get this question a lot, is Electroneum going to hit 3.8 cents again this year? Well, there's a decent chance it might, right? Now, Electroneum is, I forget what the market capitalization is. Let's take a quick look here. Yeah, it's 188. So 188, right? So it's a mid to low cap coin. Those coins are going to take a little bit longer to take off, right? Just based on the simple fact that when Bitcoin starts to lose market capitalization and the altcoins start to adopt that capitalization from Bitcoin, usually the large market cap coins go first. So those ones take off. We've seen it recently here, BNB, Ethereum, a small handful of very large coins that have already taken off or soon to take off. Therefore, Electroneum could be a little bit later to the game. But the great news is here, it's already creeping up here and doing very well, so it's going to be testing a couple resistance levels. Once it can kind of break this resistance zone, we'll be in pretty good shape. Sorry, that was too far. Pardon me. So let's go ahead and take a look here. So obviously we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row. The price resisted and rejected at 2.3 cents. So it's testing that right now. We'll see here in just a little bit where this one-day candlestick can close. If we can close above, that could be the new support, and it could start trending upwards to try to break this next resistance of approximately 2.7. No, sorry, I misspoke. What is that? That's 2.6. Okay, so between 2.3 and 2.6, again, I'm kind of rounding down a little bit, but generally speaking, we have this resistance channel. Once we can break through that, we take a look here, there's a strong chance we're going to see it come all the way back up here to test 3.8 cents. Eventually, I would say before year end for sure we're going to see that. Will that get broken? I think that's a very strong likelihood based on its momentum and how well it has a tendency of shooting straight up and then retracing. So keep this in mind. Look at this history. It does this almost every time. It's like a heart monitor. In other words, it jumps up, it blips up, and comes back down. The retracement is almost always 50 to 60% from top to bottom, right? So if you can kind of see that, comes up, retraces. This one's probably more so like 75, 80%. Just this part came up here, of course, because that's when Bitcoin is starting to ramp up. We had a sell-off, and this next major increase up, but it's down only about 50%. So on average, if it shoots up, it's gonna shoot down roughly halfway. Okay, now this is kind of the standard for most coins in crypto, right? It jumps up 100%, comes down 50. That's just the average. So with this kind of having a history of doing that, then it's going to probably do that in the future, right? So just expect that. You can expect 2 or 3 days worth of hard increase followed by a sharp decrease. So that tells me there's a little bit of manipulation in place. In other words, there's probably some whales somewhat controlling the price. So the important thing is kind of do what they do and make sure to follow along. And it's really important to set good targets, right? Good profit targets, because if you don't, then oftentimes these large wicks or just these major increases followed by a sharp decrease, you're going to be left out in the rain, before it comes back down again, right? So just bear that in mind. Just some things to kind of understand as well. And also note here too, this massive increase we saw right here, which topped out somewhere in the March timeframe, started to retrace, and you can see it was probably going to level out somewhere in the range of just say where it's at right now. But then we have April 17th that drove the price down, followed by the Elon candle and then the China candle, right? You can pretty much pick them out of a hat. You see all the longest red candlesticks are the three major sell-offs from Bitcoin. So it's definitely not impervious to that. Electroneum has to function well, Bitcoin needs to function well for Electroneum to do so as well. So keep that in mind as well. A lot of as wells there, but I can tell you that it's important to know what Bitcoin's doing first. And with Bitcoin performing nice in the last couple of days, we can see the increase from Electroneum kind of bouncing back. So let's go ahead and just mark a quick support, and we'll go ahead and take a quick look at the deeper analysis here. Got a pretty steady consistency here, about 1.85. So 1.85 cents I would say is a good support level. So we can see back here, it was rejected out as well, and a previous resistance becomes a very strong support. Okay, the inverse applies as well, but if something was rejected consistently beforehand, once it breaks that plane, closes on the one-day chart above or below that, it's considered a stronger support resistance. Therefore, we got pretty good shape here. In other words, we got this range here. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at the price? I love this. Okay, look at RSI. RSI is back over 50. That's fantastic. Very, very good sign here in the sense that when the price is below 50 on the RSI, that's commonly referred to as like a resistance zone. When the price is above, it's considered a support zone. In other words, 50 to 70 is basically considered bullish convergence versus bearish divergence. Now you could kind of make the argument, oh, RSI is over 50 and price is still coming down. Yes, but the overall sentiment is still high, and the fact that it's much higher than it was previously, therefore we're going to probably see a continuation of the upside. So just keep that in mind. Also note too, we have a potential convergence on the MACD on the one-day chart. This isn't always 100%, but it does imply that with that shift in momentum, where you can kind of see here, the bears are losing control. The bulls are soon to take control here. Again, hopefully we can get that candlestick to close above resistance. Once that happens, we'll probably be in pretty good shape. It may not happen today, but it could happen the next couple days. And once it breaks above, that becomes a new support where the MACD converges, and then we have this next little push to the upside. But this could have been too much movement in one day for it to have any more steam left in it, right? So we got about roughly 20% increase in one day. That's kind of a lot. All right, enough jabbing. Let's go ahead and just take a look at the 4-hour. See if there's anything else we can disseminate here. Are we above SMA? We are. Perfect. We're both above 200 and the 50-day simple moving average. This is a fantastic sign. That's really important to note. In fact, why don't we take a quick look at the one-day chart as well? Yep, the 50 kind of held there as well. That reaffirms that support level. Okay, so the simple moving averages are fantastic to use on on the larger time frames. The 1-day and the 4-hour chart, you want to use the 50-day and the 200-day simple moving average. I try to teach that to all of my patrons, of course, so they understand, because that's a very important factor when when you're actually looking at the charts, because each chart time frame has its own benefits and its own things to look for. To me, RSI and both the moving averages on the 4-hour and the 1-day chart are probably the most impactful. So as long as you understand that, we're good. So in other words, we're above both supports. Therefore, it's going to help drive the price up. And the 50 is going to be quick to react here too, with the price being like that. So we'll probably see that match. So if we get the price stuck here, the 50 should push the price up. Again, that's typically how it's supposed to work. Let's take a look at the 1-hour chart, see kind of where we're at in the cloud. I believe we are above the cloud at this point. Hold on, and double click the wrong spot. Ishimoku. Yeah, obviously. That's when we actually had the MACD convergence. So that's a very good sign there. And we can kind of see a sell-off occurring here right now as well. It does look like this resistance level is probably going to hold. So just be mindful of that. We've got one more hour left in this trading cycle. This could very well close below, just kind of delaying the inevitable. And I say inevitable because I think it's very safe to say this will break that resistance zone and leg up. So let's see here. Furthermore, why don't we just take a quick look here as well? This would make sense if we're at overtime. So this is something that's kind of, I guess, more speaking to the obvious right now, but in general, what you want to look for with TD sequential on the 1 hour chart, specifically the 1 hour chart, it's more effective that way. We want to look for a 9, right? And what we see here, we see it count from a 1 to a 9. That basically just means there's supposed to be a retracement somewhere in this zone here. Now the price kept pushing up and legging up, therefore it kind of broke that trend, but it continued this push to the upside for this bull run, which isn't bad, don't get wrong. It's just not super healthy, which is why we're seeing this right now, because it came up too quick and it needs to come down to correct itself. Or this could just be the simple fact that every time there's an increase, there's a retracement that occurs afterwards based on the whales taking their profits. So bear that in mind as well. That's pretty consistent with coins of this nature and this size. Anyways, that's kind of what I just wanted to highlight there. So all in all, big picture, let's just go ahead and recap. Even though, yes, we're seeing a retracement here for Electroneum, I think it's pretty safe to presume that we will break this resistance zone here soon. Right, I think about 2.3 cents will definitely be broken here in the next week. I'm going to say week just based on the fact that it's getting pushed down kind of hard right now, and we got to see where it goes from here. But generally speaking, I think it's on the right track. Will it break its all-time high this year? I think that's a possibility, but just to be conservative, which I typically am, I would say that that'd probably be more so a higher point in the year. But again, it really just depends on where the market capitalization goes when it comes from Bitcoin and into these altcoins. This does have a large, a decent amount of volume. Therefore, I feel like it will adopt a lot of capitalization later, and it could increase. And in turn, if it starts to decrease in capitalization as far as how, what number it is, it's at 188 today. If it just gets to just a top 100 in the next couple of months, then yeah, that will definitely be broken. But I would say month end, we're going to probably see this resistance here about 2.64 and get tested and likely broken, which puts us at about, I would say, about 2 weeks until we see that. So again, within the next 1 to 2 weeks, we should experience some type of growth, and that would be somewhere in the range of about a 20% increase. So I think 20% increase for Electroneum is very likely based on its history. Just again, keep in mind, what goes up must come down. We have these significant increases. They're going to be followed by a pretty decent decrease. You've been warned. So again, set stop targets and set every time you take a trade. Always recommend this again to my patrons as well because it's just good practice. Try to set at least 3 profit targets, right? And usually you set the profit targets just below the resistance zone, so that way if it breaks, you still, just say it gets rejected rather, you still take your profits. And yes, if it breaks above, you can typically buy the next dip once it retraces back down to support. Okay, that's usually how I like to play it. So again, just a recommendation there, but I hope you did find benefit. Thank you so much. If you would like, again, perhaps extra support in trading, becoming a better trader, I have a trading community, link in the description below. Again, I send out all the signals for my trades that I take. We all follow along and have a great, great time. So check that out. Thanks again to my patrons for requesting that I cover this. Thank you. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one. Have a good one. Thank you.